Ladies and gentlemen, there's a silent truth to our pain. It's something we often keep tucked away, believing that no one can understand, that we are truly alone in the moments when our heart feels heavy. But here's the thing. They knew you were hurting. The people around you, they knew. Whether they said anything or not, whether their actions were clear or quiet, they felt it. Not in the way you might have expected, but in a deeper, more subtle way. Sometimes they could sense it, because we are all connected in this dance of human experience. Pain is not a solitary thing. It never truly belongs to just one person. It is woven into the very fabric of life, a part of the world that hums alongside joy and peace. And in that hum, we are all intertwined. You see, your pain doesn't define you in isolation. Others feel it too, whether through their own struggles or through the way you carry it. It's what makes us human, this shared understanding, whether spoken aloud or silently known. Sometimes we forget how powerful the simple act of being seen truly is. When someone looks into your eyes and in their gaze recognizes your struggle, it's not a pitying glance, it's a knowing. It's an understanding that needs no explanation. It's the silent nod of acknowledgement, the unspoken words of comfort that are enough to remind you that you are not alone. There is power in knowing that someone else feels what you feel, without needing to fix it, without needing to change it. Just to be with you in that moment is enough. In those moments when you feel the weight of your own vulnerability, there is strength. It's in our brokenness, our rawness, that we connect most deeply with the world. Pain doesn't stay forever. It shifts, it transforms, it teaches. It may not look the way you hoped it would, but it is always leading you to deeper truths. And those truths are not yours alone, they belong to us all. When you hurt, it's not just your soul that feels it. The collective spirit of humanity bends with your suffering. And when someone sees you in your pain, they are not just offering you sympathy, they are offering you the space to heal. In fact, I would argue that those two things go hand in hand. They are undeniably leading you to deeper truths, and those truths are not your soul that feels it. The collective spirit of humanity bends with your suffering. And when someone sees you in your pain, they are offering you the space to heal. They are giving you the freedom to not have to carry it all by yourself. And here's the beauty of it. It's in that moment of being truly seen that something inside you shifts. That's when healing begins. Not because the pain disappears, but because you have connected with the world around you in a deeper way. You have reminded yourself that you are part of something greater, something that sees you, understands you, and accepts you as you are, in all your pain and all your glory. Pain, in its many forms, is not something that stays hidden within the confines of the self. It reaches out in ways we might not always see, but others can feel it, often without a single word being spoken. It's in the way you move, the quiet stillness in your eyes, the weight you carry in your silence. The people around you can sense it, not because they are mind readers, but because human beings are attuned to each other on a deeper level And there is an unspoken language in the way we interact, a subtle energy that tells us when someone is in distress, even when you try to hide it. That pain makes its way into the spaces between you and others. This awareness of pain is not always obvious. It is not always loud or dramatic. It often appears in small, unnoticed moments. A sigh, a shift in posture, a hesitation in speech. Others might not fully understand the depth of your suffering, but they can feel the change in the air, the shift in your presence. We are constantly interpreting the world around us, and part of that is reading the emotional currents that pass between us. So even when you think you're masking it, your pain doesn't remain invisible. It lingers in your energy, in the tension of your body, in the way your voice falters. It makes itself known. This awareness is not about judgment or pity. It's a recognition of the human condition. The moment someone feels your pain, it's not because they want to rescue you, but because they understand, even if just a little, what it means to hurt. This collective understanding of pain binds us in ways we might not always acknowledge. We are not isolated in our struggles. They ripple outward, touching those around us. And in this shared experience, we are reminded that suffering is not a private burden to be borne in isolation. It is part of the great weave of life, connecting us to each other in moments of both strength and vulnerability. When we are aware of someone else's pain, we are reminded of the unspoken bond we share as humans. Pain is not a singular experience. It is a communal one, felt by all in different ways, yet similar in its ability to shape our existence. And in this awareness, there is an invitation to step beyond our own suffering and recognize the humanity of others. In the depths of our struggles, there is a profound truth we often overlook. Pain is not an isolated experience, but a shared one. Every person, no matter their background, their journey, or their station in life, carries some form of suffering. It might manifest in different ways, whether through loss, disappointment, fear, or confusion. But it is a part of being human. We are not separate in our pain. We are bound by it, and it is this shared humanity that connects us in ways beyond words. When we allow ourselves to see this, we understand that no one is truly alone in their suffering. Even in the most isolating moments, when you feel as though the weight of the world is yours to bear, someone else, somewhere, has felt the same. It is through this shared understanding that we can bridge the gaps between us. We are not strangers to each other's experiences, even if we have never walked the same path. Our hearts beat to a rhythm of mutual struggle, and in that rhythm, we find solidarity. This connection is not something we need to seek. It is inherent in our existence. It is the quiet knowing that underpins every human interaction, whether we recognize it or not. We may not always speak of our pain, but it lingers beneath the surface, and it calls out to others in the most unexpected ways. In a glance, in a touch, in a simple word of comfort, we remind each other that we are not alone. And when we share our pain, we also share our strength. Through it, we come to understand that we are not isolated in our suffering, but united in our ability to endure, to heal, and to grow. This shared humanity teaches us compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. Recognizing that pain is a universal experience allows us to soften our judgment, both of ourselves and of others. We cease to view suffering as something that sets us apart or makes us weak, and instead begin to see it as a testament to our resilience, our connection, and our capacity of empathy. It is in this space of shared humanity that we learn the truest form of love. Love that understands, that holds, and that acknowledges the pain without needing to fix it. Sympathy is not simply an emotional response or a kind gesture. It is a profound understanding that transcends surface-level interactions. It is the ability to enter the experience of another, to sit with them in their pain, and to witness their journey without rushing to change it. This is where its true power lies. Empathy does not seek to fix or to offer solutions, but to simply be present. It is the act of being with someone in their suffering, without judgment, without the need to alter their reality. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can offer another is our presence, our willingness to simply be there. When empathy is at play, it becomes a mirror. It allows us to reflect back to the other person that their pain matters, that they are seen, that their struggles are understood, even if they cannot fully be explained. In this silent recognition there is comfort. Empathy holds space for vulnerability, for the rawness that pain brings. And through this holding, it allows healing to begin. It doesn't erase the pain, nor does it promise an immediate resolution, but it validates the experience. It says, I am with you. You are not alone in this. At its core, empathy asks us to step outside of ourselves, to momentarily let go of our own fears, anxieties, and distractions, and tune into another person's emotional landscape. It requires us to listen, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. In doing so, we acknowledge that we don't always have to provide answers. Sometimes it's enough to just be a witness to someone's journey. This quiet companionship can create a sense of peace and relief in a world where we often feel compelled to do something to help, when sometimes being is all that's needed. And empathy also softens the divide between us. When we truly feel what another feels, even momentarily, we are reminded that we are not so different. We all know pain. We all know uncertainty. We all know joy. And in these shared experiences, empathy becomes the thread that ties us together. It is what enables us to transcend the boundaries of individual existence and tap into the collective heart of humanity. It is in these moments of connection, no matter how fleeting, that we find meaning, understanding, and solace. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, something to be hidden away and protected at all costs. Yet in truth, it is one of our greatest strengths. It is in vulnerability that we reveal our truest selves, our raw, unguarded hearts, the parts of us that are unshaped by expectations or defense mechanisms. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we let go of the need for perfection or control, and instead we embrace what it means to be human, to feel deeply, to hurt, to love, to fail. It is in these moments of openness that we find our most profound connections with others. To be vulnerable is to show the world who we are without the masks we often wear. It is an invitation for others to meet us, not in our idealized versions, but in the fullness of our humanity. This act of showing up, unprotected, can be terrifying. Yet it is through this vulnerability that we experience our greatest moments of growth. For in our openness, we not only expose ourselves to the possibility of rejection, but also to the possibility of being understood, of finding someone who sees us for who we truly are. There is immense power in this. It is through our vulnerability that we create space for empathy, for connection, and for healing. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we are also allowing others to see their own vulnerability. It breaks down the walls we put up between each other, reminding us that we are not alone in our imperfections. Everyone at some point or another experiences the pain of vulnerability. We are all human in this way, and when we share that vulnerability, we foster deeper understanding and trust. We realize that it is not our perfection that binds us together, but our flaws, our struggles, and our willingness to embrace them. To be vulnerable is not to be weak. It is to be honest, to be real, to acknowledge that we cannot control every aspect of our lives or shield ourselves from every storm. It is an acceptance that pain, sorrow, and uncertainty are a part of the fabric of life, and in that acceptance we find strength. For there is no true courage without vulnerability, no true connection, no real growth. When we are willing to stand in the face of our own fears, to expose our wounds and our tenderness, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. It is through vulnerability that we begin to heal, to transform, and to truly connect with others in ways that are deeper and more meaningful than we ever imagined. Understanding has a quiet yet profound power. It is not an instantaneous change, nor does it promise quick fixes, but its impact is lasting. To truly understand is to look beyond the surface, to peer into the heart of another's experience, and grasp the essence of their journey, their pain, their joy. This kind of understanding is not intellectual. It is deeply emotional, a resonance that comes from being able to hold space for someone else's humanity without the need to alter or judge it. When we are truly understood, something inside us shifts. The transformative power of understanding lies in its ability to create acceptance. Often when we suffer, we feel as though we are broken, that there is something inherently wrong with us because of our pain. But understanding provides a mirror in which we see ourselves not as flawed or inadequate, but as fully human. It reminds us that our struggles are not signs of failure, but part of the larger shared experience of life. When someone takes the time to truly understand us, we begin to understand ourselves in ways we hadn't before. It is as though the layers of our pain are peeled back, not to be fixed or erased, but to be embraced as part of our story. It is as though the layers of our pain. This understanding also fosters compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. When we feel understood, we are reminded that we deserve the same gentleness, the same kindness, the same patience that we so freely offer others. We begin to treat ourselves with the same care we wish for others. And this, too, is a transformation. It shifts our internal narrative, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. And from there, healing begins. Understanding, therefore, is not just about connecting with another. It is a pathway to a deeper relationship with ourselves, one that is rooted in acceptance rather than judgment. In relationships, the act of understanding can break down walls and bridge gaps that once seemed insurmountable. It removes the distance that suffering often creates between us, allowing us to connect in a way that is not based on solving problems or offering solutions, but on simply being present with one another. This presence is transformative because it allows both individuals to feel seen and valued for who they truly are. The world may offer us advice or solutions, but it is understanding that brings the deepest form of healing, deliverance, and connection with one's own self. The proof that to be understood is to be held in a space where we are accepted, flaws and all. And in that acceptance, we find the freedom to heal, to grow, and to move forwards. Healing, in its purest form, often comes not through isolation, but through connection. When we are in pain, it can feel as though the world has closed in around us, and we are left to carry the weight alone. Yet, it is in the presence of others, in the deep bonds we form, that we begin to heal. Connection, at its heart, is a reminder that we are not alone in our suffering. It opens a space for empathy, understanding, and shared experience, all of which are essential for healing. We do not heal in a vacuum, detached from the world and others. We heal in relationship to those around us, in the collective energy that flows between us, and between those who have been a victim of the verbal remarks. There is a profound comfort in knowing that someone else sees our pain and accepts it without judgment. It is not the fixing of our wounds that brings healing, but the acknowledgement of them, the validation that we are allowed to feel and grieve. When we connect with others, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and in that vulnerability we invite the possibility of healing. The simple act of sharing our pain, whether through words, touch, or even silence, lightens the load. It is a reminder that we are worthy of care and that our pain is not something to be hidden away, or ignored, but something that can be shared and carried together. Connection brings healing by creating space for us to be ourselves without fear of rejection. When we open ourselves to others, we allow for the possibility of acceptance, and in that acceptance, we find a path forward. We come to understand that our struggles do not define us or isolate us from others. Rather, they are part of the shared human experience that binds us all. In moments of connection, we realize that healing does not have to be a solitary journey. It can be a communal one. Help each other carry the burden, share the load, and lighten the heart. When we experience genuine connection, we begin to see our pain not as something separate from us, but as a part of the whole. It is in the presence of others that we begin to understand the depth of our own emotions, the breadth of our own humanity. Connection fosters a space where healing becomes possible, not because others offer solutions, but because they offer their presence. And in that presence, there is strength, there is comfort, and there is the promise of renewal. Through connection, we are reminded that we are part of something larger, something that embraces both our brokenness and our wholeness. And it is through that reminder that we can begin to heal. There is an unparalleled strength that comes in being truly seen by another, one that goes beyond mere acknowledgement. To be seen is to be fully recognized in your entirety, in all your complexities, your imperfections, and your vulnerability. It is a quiet kind of strength, often unspoken but deeply felt, that empowers you in ways words cannot capture. When someone truly sees you, it is as though the world pauses for a moment. And in that stillness, you realize you are worthy, you are enough, and your struggles do not diminish your value. In a world where we often feel the need to hide parts of ourselves, to wear masks in order to fit in or to protect ourselves, being seen is a radical act of acceptance. It's not about being perfect or flawless in the eyes of another. It is about being embraced in the fullness of who you are as you are. It is in this space of being understood, of being seen without judgment or expectation, that something shifts within. You begin to feel a quiet sense of power, a sense of being grounded in your own truth. You realize that you don't have to be anyone other than yourself, and that being seen for who you truly are is enough. The silent strength in being seen is not in the grand gestures or in the words spoken. It is in the unspoken connection that occurs when another person understands the essence of your being. It is in their gaze, their presence, their ability to hold space for you without trying to fix or change what they see. This kind of recognition does not demand anything from you. It simply honors your existence. And in that honor, there is a deep sense of peace, because you are no longer fighting to prove your worth. It has already been acknowledged. To be seen is to be validated. In a society that often values outward appearances and achievements, being seen for who we truly are, without the need for external validation or accomplishments, gives us a sense of belonging that transcends any superficial measure. It is a reminder that we are valuable not because of what we do, but because of who we are. And in that reminder, we find strength, we find the courage to continue, to face our challenges, and to stand tall, knowing that we are enough as we are. There is also a profound healing that happens in this act of being seen. When we are truly seen, we can release the parts of ourselves that we've hidden away in fear or shame. We no longer need to carry the weight of pretending or hiding, because we have been accepted in our entirety. It is in this acceptance that we find freedom. A freedom to be authentic, to be vulnerable, and to embrace all that we are without reservation or fear. And in this freedom there is strength. In the quiet moments when we are truly seen, we discover an inner strength that cannot be found in any external validation. It is in the simple, profound act of being understood, embraced for who we are, without conditions or expectations, that we begin to heal, to grow, and to find the courage to continue. The power of being seen lies not in its loudness, but in its depth. It reminds us that we are enough, just as we are, and that our worth is inherent, not defined by our pain or imperfections. In this recognition, we find both comfort and strength, knowing that we are never alone in our journey. Being seen is ultimately the most profound way to honor our humanity and our shared existence.